All right, today we're going to learn about paying income taxes. And there are obviously a lot of different situations that people have that determine how much income tax they have to pay and how many deductions they have and things like that. But we're going to be pretty general with our information and start out with someone who is probably like you who is has a job and maybe lives with their parents, or otherwise you don't have dependents, you don't have children or any other complicated scenarios. And hopefully that will just get your feet wet and help you to not be scared of the process whenever you do go to file your income taxes for the first time. So, starting with a reminder that April 15th is always tax day, and that just means that that's the deadline for you to turn in your taxes normally, unless you file for an extension. So, throughout the year from January 1 to December 31, you have paid income taxes through your employer if you are employed. And at the after the year is over, now it's time to reconcile. We got to make sure that we paid the right amount of taxes. And if not, we may have to pay more or we may get some back. So, this process begins with filling out your W 4 whenever you start working for an employer. And we covered that in a different lesson. This is where your employer knows now how much taxes to take out of your paycheck. When do you need to update that? Anytime a major life event happens, you get married, you get divorced, you have a child, you change jobs, you move, things like that. Now, the second W form is called a W 2. A W 2 is a form that you will get from your employer after that year is up. By January 31st, usually, is when they have to mail them out to you. And this is just going to summarize all the wages that you earned in the year and how much total taxes you paid in the year. And the whole purpose of this form is to help you file your taxes. Here is a picture of what the W-2 form looks like. Everything is very organized into numbered boxes, and that's going to help you tremendously when it's time to go and file your own taxes. Now, if you were an independent contractor, you work for yourself, you own your own business, any of those things are different than what we're going to talk about today. We're going to only talk about if you work for an employer. And so if you have any other situation of work, it is a little bit more complicated, and we're not really going to go over that too much today. So, step one of filing your taxes, you need to gather all the documentation that you're going to need. And most of the time, that's going to be a W 2 from any and all jobs that you had throughout the year. So, if you had more than one job, between January 1 and December 31, you will likely have more than one W 2, but they are supposed to mail them to you automatically. So, make sure you get them soon after January 31st. Also, if you don't have your Social Security number memorized, you'll need to find your Social Security card. And then you may also have some other documentation, such as a savings account statement that shows how much interest you earned through the course of the year. But most likely, you're not going to have to worry about that unless it's a very significant amount. Next, you're going to go and fill out the 1040 form. Now, you do not have to do this in paper. I have provided for you a copy of what the paper form looks like, but this is 21st century, right? And so we are going to use an online simulator, which is exactly like the online tax filing website that you will actually go through and fill out for yourself. And you'll find that it's very easy to use. Now, if you were going to do it in paper form, a Form 1040 is what you would use if you're kind of a straightforward tax scenario. Like I said, you only had a job, you're not working for yourself, you don't have children, you're not paying for college or anything like that. Fill out the tax form is step 3, and most of that information is coming from your W 2. And then you're going to reconcile. So after you fill in all the information, all the boxes that they want you to fill in, then you're going to see what's the difference between the taxes I paid and the taxes I owe. And if you paid too much, you get it back. And if you owe, then obviously you have to write them a check. You sign it, and then this is just showing you that there are places that you can file your taxes online, which I'm going to show you one, or you can file them on paper and mail it in. Also, talk briefly about whether you should file your taxes yourself or whether you should have somebody help you with that, whether you should pay for somebody to help you with that. So most of the time when you get on these online software programs like TurboTax or H&R Block, or there's lots of them out there. Um, just a couple of little initial questions are they're going to tell you if you are better off doing it for free by yourself, or if you probably have a lot of more complicated situations and you may want to hire a tax preparer. But generally, especially at a young age, you're going to be able to do it yourself. So I suggest that, unless you are a more challenging scenario. And also, you do want to make sure that you feel like you know what you're doing. So it's okay to prepare your taxes yourself as long as you can answer the questions that we're going to go over today and you feel like you can find your way through that. But there's no shame in paying for someone else to do your taxes. So that's always an option. So next, what I want you to do is go to the Google Classroom assignment, and I have a couple of things on there for you. I have this that you see right here, which is Antonio Davis scenario. You see Antonio Davis right there. This is a fake person, and we are going to use his W-2 and his information that they've told us to actually go on and file his taxes. So also, I have on there linked a link to Turbotax, and this is an educational simulator. So you are not really filing taxes for anybody. You're definitely not going to put any of your own personal information in here. So the first thing you will have to do here is you will have to create a fake account. So we're going to put an email address here. Oh my gosh, that is fake. So it can be anything that you want in the world, okay? But you have to end it with intuiteducation.com. And then I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it there and I'm going to paste it there also. So as long as this little green check mark comes up, they are okay with what you chose. If it's not, it means probably that fake account has already been created by someone else and you need to change that first part of it. But just make sure you put at intuiteducation.com. And this is ensuring that we are working with a fake scenario and not doing anything ourselves. You do not need to put a phone number in there, but you do need a password, and they have requirements. So I'm gonna do like TurboTax 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation point. See that they want you to have 8 or more characters, upper and lowercase, number, symbol. So as long as you include all those things, they're okay with it. But make sure that you remember what you said. TurboTax 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation point, so that your passwords match, and then click create account. This is where it takes me. It may take you to some different pages to start up with, depending on when you do this, but mostly we just want to start with our taxes. So you can click over here, my info, you can click continue, whatever you want to do to get started. And now they're going to ask, they keep moving that continue button. They're going to ask for some personal info. Now here's where you're going to go and look at Antonio Davis's personal info. You're not entering any personal information for yourself. So let's just look briefly at what information we know about Antonio. He is a high school senior. He works at Dairy Queen as a sales associate, tells us how many hours a week he works. He got his W-2 from his employer. Great. He's filing his taxes for the first time. Um, and then it says Antonio is 18. He lives at home. His parents do not claim him as a dependent. So these are questions that they're going to ask later that you'll need to know. And for tax purposes, he is single and has one job, and his birthday is right there. He doesn't pay rent. He has no other complex expenses or deductions. Here's his W 2 information, which we'll need later. And then it just says we don't need any other information about Antonio to file his taxes. If they ask any weird questions, just say no. So I am split screening here so that I can fill out information and also keep access to Antonio's information there. Hopefully you can see everything clearly. So here we start with some personal information, and we can go ahead and say that it is Antonio Davis, and I'm getting all that from right here where it says employee's first name and address, his date of birth right here, May 21, 2003. His social security number is also right here on box A, 0132822019. Occupation or job title, it tells us that he's a sales associate. So if you are filling out this out for yourself and you're not sure what is your official job title, you could click on learn more and hopefully get some better information there. But mostly we're just trying to be general. Like, of course, I would be a teacher, but what if you work at a shoe store? What are you called? Possibly also a sales associate. So they just want to make sure that you're not claiming to be a completely different occupation than what you really are. And then here's one of those questions that we don't know the answer to. A member of the U.S. Armed Forces. Didn't say that, so we're going to say no. Anything we don't know, we're going to say no. State that you lived in. So you can see here, he is from California. So we're going to choose California. I lived in another state in 2020. Doesn't say he did, so we're going to say no. Someone else can claim me as a dependent. It says specifically his parents do not claim him as a dependent. I'm legally blind. Preparing it for someone who's passed away, or I want a different language. Okay, moving on. Now it says, what is your filing status? Were you married? And it says that he is single. So we'll choose that. And then it says, was at least one of your parents alive? And we're assuming they were because it doesn't say otherwise. Do you have children? No. So a lot of these are going to be very straightforward, but this is how the tax filing process goes. They're just going to keep asking and asking and asking different questions to make sure that they're helping you to find the most accurate information regarding your tax um, liabilities. All right, address. We can also get that here from his W-2. It does not say his phone number, so we're going to leave that blank. And then it's asking, do we want the standard format of his address or the address that we actually entered? So what's the difference here? We do notice that we entered a certain zip code and they are giving us a different zip code. So it's not even the same address. We want the one that we entered. Say continue. Did you make money in any other states? Nope. And it's just verifying that his best filing status is single, not head of household or married or anything else. Continue. Giving us a summary of the personal information we already entered. Continue. And just telling us what's coming up. See that this is so user-friendly to use. And then it says, basically, do you have a W-2? Do you not have a W-2? So yes, we have a W-2. We're going to continue. And we want to start by entering whatever's in box B. And I hope that you can see this. Nope, it's not going to let me zoom in anymore, but box B is right here. So it wants the employer's identification number, 72543. And then if you were working with a physical W-2, you could take a picture of it and upload it right here, and it will go ahead and take all the information that it needs off of that. but we don't have that option. So we're going to say type it in myself. And then it's asking a series of questions that you need to get directly from the W-2. What's in box C? Employer name would be that first line. The address, zip code, city, state of the employer, and all that is right here. Then it's going to box D, which it says is optional, and we can look over here to box D and see that ours is blank. And then keep getting information from that W-2. It wants information from box 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see that box 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all right there. So I'm going to start with box 1 and we'll enter in the dollar amount that's right there. And you can continue through all of those numbered boxes. Now, if it's blank over here on the W-2, you don't put anything in the blank. You just leave it alone and all the way down to the bottom, all the way through box 20. Now it's giving us an update. Your federal refund so far is $564. So we can go ahead and continue. Now, the next steps are going to ask some more specific questions about Antonio's life to figure out if he may be eligible for some more deductions that are going to help him pay less in taxes overall. Now, what we know about Antonio is that he doesn't have any more things, so we can just scroll through any remaining pages and say, no, 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 continue. But I want you to know kind of what's on here so that you know if you were filing your own taxes, what things you might want to look for. Now, this one is if you have an uncommon situation. So, here, religious employment, you worked outside the US, you didn't get a W-2, or et cetera. So, there's some specific scenarios that they're going to ask you for. And of course, you can click on the little question mark to find out more about that scenario to see if it applies to you or not. And then they're giving us the W-2 information so far. Moving on, do you have other income to enter? This could be if you have investments that have earned interest, or you sold stocks, or you have Social Security income coming in, and some other scenarios that are right there. And we're just going to say no, 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 no. And then now they're going to ask for more deductions. Do we want to go through everything or not? And I would suggest in this case, just saying I'll choose what I work on. And to give you an idea of what kinds of things are on here, if you own a home, there are certain things that you can deduct on your taxes. If you have kids, if you donate to charity, if you have a car, if you go to college or are paying for college, this is related to tax relief from COVID-19. If you have large medical expenses and a few other scenarios, investments, retirement, if you paid for things out of your own pocket for your job, etc. So you can go through any of those items individually if you think that they might apply to you. But for Antonio's sake, we're just going to say done. Now, this is showing the difference between if the last page, if we had several things that we needed that might apply to us, it might be worthwhile for us to do what's called itemize our deductions, which really means we got to provide a whole bunch of documentation and paperwork for each of those things. But it could be worth it if for Antonio, itemizing was giving him the bigger deduction. In this case, the standard deduction is giving us a better deal. So that's just showing us which one is right for us. And we say continue. Charitable cash contributions, if you donate to any type of charity, nonprofit organization, whether it be religious, educational, etc., you can enter that cash amount right there. But you do have to have documentation for that stuff. So you can't just say that you gave $200 to a local church. You have to have a receipt for it. Other tax situations are also listed there. We're going to skip through that. Stimulus amount, this is new, obviously, but we're going to say no, and it's going to give us another tax credit because we said that we didn't get the stimulus check. And then now it's checking for a Form 1095A, which has to do with health insurance. And we're going to say, I don't have one. Just verifying Social Security number. And then the last thing I think is that it's just going to double check all your information and make sure they have everything and you're ready to go. And it says that we are in great shape. So we're going to hit continue one more time. And it's telling us here how much of a refund we're getting. So Antonio, because of all the deductions that he's eligible for in the way that he filed his taxes, he overpaid in taxes. And so now he's getting back $2,364. Now, I don't want you to move forward into the state tax situation. What I'd like for you to do here is to go ahead and print this page so that I know that you got through it. So go ahead and right click on that page, hit print, and then you should be able to choose to save as PDF and go ahead and save it. And it's just going to save this page as a document that you will then need to go on and attach to the Google Classroom assignment to get credit for today's work. If you're on a Chromebook, it may not let you save as a PDF. In that case, please just screenshot your page that we were just looking at, this page right here, screenshot it by holding down Control while you hit the multiple screens button on the very top row of your keyboard. And then that has automatically now saved a file to your Chromebook. And you'll need to go to Google Classroom and attach that file and turn in.